a moment to talk specifically about visual motor development and integration. So this is part of the sensory motor development, but focusing on what we're seeing and how we're responding with our body to it.
Yeah. I think the first one children learn is probably the one where they're really fascinated by their finger and they keep moving it close, and you say you're going to poke yourself in the eye, and then sure enough the kid pokes himself in the eye, and some kids will have to do it 10 times. Most kids will do it 1 or 2 before they figure out that and to understand what that means, and they're perceiving it coming close, and maybe that's too close, and yeah. And
we really rely on our vision for coordinating our motor actions. We really are. And so, we can coordinate movements if we close our eyes. I know that Keith is beside me and I can reach out and touch him, but it's going to happen with some hesitancy because I'm not exactly sure where it is. So that's those components. We can take one out, but it's also integral to what I'm doing to be able to fine tune those things. And, when I think about visual motor development, I'm also, I'm thinking about the motor development of the movements of our eyes and how is that working. So there are many different, I think of them as kind of levers that are pushing and pulling our eyes to be able to rotate and move and respond to what we're trying to watch. So if I've got some difficulties, and this is very common, with difficulties around being able to watch a moving object across the room and to be able to have my eyes move in a fluid fashion to track where that is in space. That gives us feedback around how I might reach out to touch that object. It also is integral to my threat detection system that will let me know, is that threatening or not? Is that coming at me or is it staying over there? How fast are those objects moving? So if there are some difficulties with the coordination of our eye movements, which would be associated with developmental coordination disorder, for example, that's going to have that cascade around what is that affecting. It's not just going to affect my reading skills. It very likely will, but it's also going to have a really, really strong effect on my willingness to be in a room that I've never been in before, because there's so much new visual information that I'm not able to take in quick enough to navigate that space, right?
Right.
And some of the kids that have delays in visual motor development and integration often use their vision to know where their body is in space. Like we were talking about the mirror skin, so it's coming full circle. And then if they don't have enough proprioceptive sense, and if they're not making sense of that sense, either not receiving the information because they need extra input for those nerves to fire, then what I'm doing is I'm looking around the room, and if my head goes like this and the computer is still like this, there's a similar computer in front of me that is behind me, and then I know that I haven't fallen over too much and that I'm staying up. And then when an adult is really close to that child, it also that may be one of the reasons why they're having a harder time actually understanding what you're saying, is because you've taken away that kind of horizon for them to know whether or not they're staying upright. And that will also have an effect on that. But that's often, yeah, I guess it's why I always, like I was saying before, it's sort of this cascading effect, because when one thing is a little bit challenged, that it leads to these other skills being challenged as well, because we use them all together to be able to make sure that we're safe. And then we're asking the child to not only feel safe, but to do kind of fancy tricks for us. I'm not trying to boil learning down to that, but for them, that's what what's kind of happening as we're trying to teach them. And I that was more of a joke than meaning it, but in some ways, like it's a little bit too hard for them is really what I'm trying to say.
Right.